if you're a graphic designer and you're not designing for social media in mind, then you need to start doing that quick. You've got a logo and that's it. And they plaster the logo on any platform. But it's not just about the logo. Designing sex education manuals was not something I thought I'd be doing. But they are by far the most impactful. They're now in over 200 schools in Sub-Saharan Africa. I launched the program in Cambodia last year. Using things like Canva, you don't own the rights to that logo. If you do it on Canva, if you're using Canva shapes, they own the rights to it. So I'm Olivia and I'm the founder of One Kind Creative. So it's a graphic design business but specialising in purpose-led brands and charities, and actually using design to make a difference rather than just aesthetics. So.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
When I was 17, I went on a school trip to Uganda and we were working on a project around period poverty and sort of educating schools there. And I just finished school at the time. I said to the charity that I want to be a graphic designer. Can I do some posters or leaflets for you? Anything, I'll do it for free. And I did. And ever since then, I've worked with that charity and doing a few projects with them. I just really realised that design can actually make an impact. I was working on training manuals for period poverty, which were literally keeping girls in school. And it was my illustrations that were aiding that. So when I saw that and the impact it can have, I was like, wow, there's a lot of charities out there and similar organisations that are doing amazing things, but just don't have the branding or design to amplify that. Because I think branding, often you think of sort of service businesses or product businesses, you don't think about charities, but it's so important for them to get grants and funding. Yeah. They need strong design.
I realised actually, obviously we're in the space anyway, so I understand how important branding is, but we were at an event this weekend and I realised how there's a lot of good businesses, like actually phenomenal businesses doing really good things, but their branding makes them feel like, it felt like it was a scam page almost.
Yeah.
Because like your branding is not aligned to what you're doing. What do we need to be thinking about more of?
Consistency. I think people think that you've got a logo and that's it. And they plaster the logo on any platform. But it's not just about the logo. You need to be using the same colours, the same fonts, having some sort of brand illustrations and brand patterns just to amplify it and make it a brand rather than just a logo. And being consistent with that across socials, print, website, anything really.
What does One Creative stand for?
So One Kind Creative, it's OK is actually my initials. My name's Olivia Krawczyk, so it comes from there. And just about kindness, I always say to any client I work with that as long as you really care about your mission, and it's not just a tick box for you, and that you are kind and you lead with compassion, that's the biggest thing for me within my business and for my clients. So it all comes from there.
So obviously the work you're doing is having an impact for sure.
Yeah.
Has there been like a client or a business that you worked with that you've seen the biggest impact that it had? That makes sense.
Yeah. Quite a few, and I'll go back to the projects in Uganda and Cambodia. Designing sex education manuals was not something I thought I'd be doing, but they are by far the most impactful. They're now in over 200 schools in Sub-Saharan Africa. I launched the program in Cambodia last year. And these manuals, they are literally keeping girls in school. With that, they get an education, they actually have a future. So to see that impact and to actually see how many girls have stayed in school just from having these manuals and be taught through these manuals is incredible. And it's huge to see that, for sure.
So obviously I've got a young girl. Just relating to the story of your trip to Uganda, do you think men need to learn a lot more about
100%?
Because
100%. This is something that comes up in a lot of the work I do. Uganda, Cambodia, I work for a period poverty charity here in the UK as well. And men need to know more. They really do. And I think people shy away from that. And for so long, it's been something that you talk to girls about and women, and men don't need to know. But actually, as fathers, brothers, husbands, they need to know, particularly in the countries that I was working in Uganda. A lot of the time it's the men that are buying the products for the women. So without actually understanding that, they don't know why they need to spend money on it, and girls go without. So 100%.
Do you think it is a branding problem then, that men, or is there?
I think so. Yeah. And I think even now, even sanitary product brands are still very overly feminine. And they show beautiful women doing sport and they're wearing white, and it's not real. That's not reality. And I think obviously a lot of men aren't educated on it. They see that and think it's not really something that they need to know. They don't understand the impact that periods have on women, on their hormones, on their well-being. And that's a global issue. It is. It really is.
Branding and design. How have you seen it change since you got into the industry? Has it changed?
Yeah, even in the last few years, the jump from print to digital has gone huge. Even when I first started only a few years ago, there's a lot of reliance on print, and now it is purely digital. If you're a graphic designer and you're not designing for social media in mind, then you need to start doing that quick. That's been the biggest change, but also I think awareness. People are becoming more aware that actually a logo isn't it. You do need more than that. I think a lot of businesses and people just don't really know what that entails, because they have a logo they love and they don't realize that there are options out there to just have the illustration, pattern, colors. You don't need to do a full brand overhaul. You can do bits to it. Yeah, but definitely the social media, it's huge.
Where do you see it going?
Honestly, I don't know, and I think that's quite exciting. Obviously AI is here, we can't ignore it. But again, I think it's exciting and you have to utilize AI. You know, people say to me, oh, you're a designer, like I did a logo on ChatGPT, I don't need you. We're not quite there yet with AI. You know, it's you can still very much tell what's done by a human and what's done by AI. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there about where design is going. But all I can say is just keep talking about it and keep communicating with your customers about why branding is important and actually what human design can do and can bring to you.
What would you say to someone who would say, "Oh, I don't need a brand designer or graphic designer. I can use AI." What would you say to someone like that?
I think the first thing I always say is look at where you're using your logo, because people do one logo and you need at least 3 logos, a primary, a secondary, and a submark logo, you know, to fit different points, a small one, a long one, websites. AI doesn't quite do that. And the biggest thing I always say with AI, clients have to know what they want. None of my clients know what they want when they come to me. So to get something successful with AI, you have to really type in and exactly know what you're looking for. And you need an expert to kind of guide you through that, because sometimes what you think you want isn't actually going to work. Creating a successful brand isn't just about making it look nice. You actually need a strategy of, is this going to reach your audience? Is this going to be what they want to see? Are they going to engage with it? And AI doesn't know that. AI doesn't know your audience. Brand designer does. AI doesn't, unfortunately. And also just legal issues. Using things like Canva, you don't own the rights to that logo. If you do it on Canva, if you're using Canva shapes, they own the rights to it. So there's things like that which people don't realize.
That's new. I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. Luckily, you don't use Canva.
There you go. You're fine. You're covered.
But
yeah, if you're using like Canva shapes and illustrations that are on Canva, they own that completely.
That's really interesting. Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, they're not going to have that installed like on their webpage and stuff.
Yeah.
To say, so yeah.
Exactly.
So whilst this is about the business, we are launching something called Founder Stories, and it is very much about the founders. So I want to know a little bit more about you and what drives you, what gets you up in the morning.
I've always just wanted to help people, and as cliche as that sounds, my mum even said it when I was little. That's what I was saying I wanted to do. I've always loved design. Before I knew what design was, I liked art at school, but I didn't quite fit in that sort of fine art mold. So when I came across graphic design, I was like, oh, this is what I love doing. And being able to actually make an impact in the world, I think that's the most important thing for me. And getting across messages in a creative way, I love doing that. But just making a difference and using my skills to help others, that's what I love doing and I am doing, which is great.
It's interesting to speak to creatives. So for me personally, like when I got into this, I started in documentary filmmaking, and now we very much are along the lines of telling people stories. But I've always found it very difficult to articulate myself and to say what I'm thinking and feeling. But through this creative space, I'm almost able to do that, like effortlessly.
100%.
Do you find the same with?
100%.
Yeah.
I think, particularly from a young age, we're fit into a mold of this is how you should communicate, this is how you need to articulate at school. And creatives often don't fit into that mold. I know I never did. I wasn't particularly good at English and writing, expressing my thoughts that way, but I could design them. I could make a poster with cool typography to say what I was thinking. Couldn't write an essay on it. But I think it's something that you learn, and once you sort of leave that education system particularly and you meet your people, that's been the biggest thing for me, is kind of finding my tribe and the people that get how I think and how my brain works, and that are like-minded.
Yeah. So Olivia, I've given you a stage, yeah? And I've given you this microphone or this megaphone, and this megaphone speaks to the whole of society.
Okay.
What message do you want the society to know?
Wow.
What's your message?
That's a good question. To just lead with authenticity and kindness. I think, especially with social media, people forget their authentic selves, and we try and be what we see on social media, what we think we should be, rather than just being yourself. And as soon as you drop that guard and you are just completely you and start to work on the things you want to work on, the reasons you want to do, that's when really beautiful things happen. And I think more people need to do that. And it's very easy to get wrapped up in work, social media, and this idea of the type of person you need to be, rather than actually like what's in here. And kindness. People need to be kinder. We need more kindness in the world.
Just a follow-up question. Has it been a time where you feel like you haven't been authentic?
Yeah. I think I loved school until sixth form, and then the pressure came to go to uni, and I never went to university. I never wanted to. But I found that time very hard with friend groups who were all going to sort of do quite academic subjects at university. I was in a school that really pushed that, and I think I definitely did lose myself a little bit, because I didn't know there were other options. I didn't know that there are people thinking like me, so I did try and be a bit like that, I suppose. I wasn't true to myself. Actually, I went solo traveling. That's what I've been doing the last few years. I've been traveling around the world and working on my business, but I didn't have anyone I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was possible. So yeah, I suppose it was to protect myself a bit and to fit into those around me. And when you're a teenager, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And lastly, is there any advice that you'd give to someone maybe trying to break into this industry of branding and design and graphic design?
Passion projects. To do design, you need a strong portfolio, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but you don't need uni to do that. I just went out to loads of random small businesses and said, I'll do a logo, like I'll charge you. I think I was charging like £30 for a logo. I look back at them now and I cringe, but it was building my portfolio. So I had a strong portfolio without all the uni fees. And just keep practicing. Everyone thinks they're great when they start off, and you're not. It comes with time, and just practice the programs. Like once you get up to date with all the Adobe programs, and they do change so regularly, so just keeping on top of trends with that. But doing passion projects and fake briefs, you don't need a real life client to do a branding. You can come up with a random company in your head and do a branding for them. That's how it starts.
And off the record, how many times have you been paid in exposure?
So many times.
We get it all the time. Yeah.
When I was starting out, it's like, well, shout about you will do this. I'm like, that is amazing. And then you realise that, and I needed that at the start. That does help, but there comes a point when you need to
exactly.
enter that, for sure.
And with just interest of time, is there been? We could talk forever, but has there been any question that I haven't asked that you'd like me to ask you? Anything you want to cover?
I think so. I think I covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
awesome.
One Kind Creative, and see what happens next, I guess, for it.
Yeah, go on, let's give a little shout. Do you want to give a little shout out to One Kind Creative?
Yeah, so One Kind Creative, if you need branding or design and you're a purpose-led brand and you really care about your mission and what you do, then I'm on Instagram, onekind.creative.
Amazing. Olivia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely to speak to you.